again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Coffee Shop Conversation Show. I am James Brown of James Brown Voice, your voiceover with soul. You know you have an incredible product, you know you give amazing service, and I'm here to make sure that everyone else does too. I am your host here, along with the wonderful Sondra Ray. Hello, Sondra, how are you this week?
I am good. I am good. It is the first day of July. I'm blinked. 6 months are gone. We're halfway through the year. Yay.
Summer,
so-
that's nice.
Yeah, summer. It's my birthday month. You know,
I mean, unless you're in South Africa, then it's winter. So sorry to
Yeah.
them. I mean, for us, it's good. Yeah, Northern Hemisphere. Woo, go, yeah.
Yeah, we're summer. They're winter. So yeah, I'm good. My name is Sondra. I own Get It Done Coaching, and I have the privilege of helping co-host the show. Today we are going to talk about effective communication. I just want to remind people on the YouTube show that it is a live show, so participate, make comments, ask questions. I am super excited that we
super duper excited. Don't forget the
duper. Oh my goodness. English, I promise. Rhona, we had a little convince, but Miss Rhona is joining us. Miss Rhona is one of our writers, marketing. Like, Rhona is our go-to for that in the tribe. So we're extremely privileged to have her on today. She runs a relationship business, and so effective communication is like totally her subject. So Rhona, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what does that mean? What does effective communication with your customers mean? Obviously, it means talking correctly. That's probably step one.
Yes.
Go ahead, Rhona.
Hello. I'm Rhona MacCormick. I'm based here in sunny today, Glasgow, with that Northern Hemisphere summer. So happy to be here with you today. So effective communication is what I live for in my relationship coaching business. Communication, I would say, is the key to everything, whatever problems you have in life, whether it's in business or in your personal life. You've got to know how to talk about it. And effective communication is really all about understanding. It's not just about talking, it's about talking and listening. And active listening is a really key component. And active listening is listening to understand. It's not just listening with half a bit of attention, waiting to get your next point across. So when it comes to effective communication with our customers and for customer service, we really need to be clear on our messaging. We need to keep it simple and concise so that there's no confusion. We need to show empathy. We need to listen carefully to what our customer needs are, particularly in the customer service side. If there's a problem, we need to show that we're showing that compassionate side, apology for whatever's gone wrong, and being clear about how you're going to fix any problems. And when it comes to the marketing side of your business, again, it's really the sort of clarity is really important. There's some, I don't know the stats, maybe Megan will, but there's some sort of rule out there that the majority of people have a reading comprehension of maybe like a 13, 14-year-old. So a lot of people tend to be a bit overkill on the jargon front and make it, they're trying to sound like an authority. So they try to use all their fancy technical words. People don't want that. People want to understand. And if something's overly complex, then that's not effective communication because people aren't understanding your messaging. So that's a brief summary of what I believe effective communication to be.
I love that. I love that, Rhona. And yes, I've heard that before. I think in the US we say fifth, sixth grade level, like reading level, so that people understand. I think if you're in an industry that's like very techy, then maybe you can up it to that tech level because that's the wording they use, but your general public, that fifth, sixth grade level. And there's apps made for that where you can take an article and put it in there and they will make it fit to that. So I didn't know that until I seen somebody do it. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. He's like, yeah, I just throw my article in and say what grade level I want it to be readable for, and then that's what I published. And I was like, well, isn't that nifty?
There's so many good tools out there. Now I have, because I'm in the UK, I have Grammarly, which I have set to American spelling, which I think a lot of people probably do. But I think the one that I know that you're referring to is called Hemingway. And it highlights when you're using like big long sentences and things. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier on effective communication is when it's face-to-face interactions, you do also need to be mindful of your tone and your body language. I'm sure we've all been in situations where, you might have caught somebody eye rolling or fidgeting with their phone, or, they're not actively showing that they're actively listening. And again, that sort of eye contact and making sure that your customer is the center of your attention and you're not distracted is another point. And again, when it comes to your messaging, if it's not verbal communication, the other good tip is consistency and being, having your marketing messaging be consistent and, perhaps telling the same brand stories every so often so that people begin to get that know, like, and trust and know what you stand for, know what your strengths are. And that helps you become along the journey to being the authority in your field.
I love that. I love that. I took nonverbal communication class in college, and it's crazy how much from how people are sitting and what way they're facing and arms and their face for sure. I know I was struggling. I was struggling.
Like sitting up straight and paying attention after.
For sure. I found myself leaning on my hand this morning in a meeting because I was tad frustrated. She did not catch it, but I caught it, and I was like, okay, that's probably not very nice that I'm doing that right now. Peter, before I'm going to let you go, I'm going to ask a question from the live YouTube show. How does one improve their active listening skills? I think this is a good one.
Yeah, again, it's just focusing on listening to understand. The power of curiosity is really an incredible thing. So if you don't understand something, then just ask. And there's all sorts of, particularly in personal relationships or business side of things, it's the understanding that's key. So just say, sorry, just to clarify what you're meaning, and you can use that sort of paraphrasing as a skill to sort of reflect back what someone's telling you to make sure that you've found it, you've got it, and that's quite a helpful practice. Just to and you know, I know we said about make sure you're not fidgeting. It's fine to say if you know if it's quite a complex encounter. Ask if do you mind if I take notes, because you want to make sure that you don't miss any important points. But it's just, yeah, really focus on that understanding, and don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't understand something.
Right. I love that. I love that. Those are really good points, Rhona. Mr. Peter, come in on the conversation.
First of all, I just want to compliment Rhona on simplifying what it actually means, because I was expecting this really complicated, we're talking about communication, and I think by simplifying it, it creates a much greater understanding. And what I wanted to say is more of a question than it is an answer to anything. If we in business are wanting to learn about effective and clear communication in order to improve ourselves or improve our businesses, there's going to be some sort of impact when we learn how to communicate within our business. My first question would be, is effective and clear communication something that can be learned? And if so, where and how? And then the second question would be, by stepping into that space in business and learning about clear communication, can that also improve my personal life and perhaps my relationships?
Oh, interesting points. I guess well, there are many people out there in the marketing field who will be probably hitting you up in your DM saying, I can help you create an effective marketing message for your business. So whether they have that authority and have earned that trust with you, you may or may not decide to go with one of those people. But yes, I believe it's something that can always be improved. And again, one of the things that we teach, like in our program, it's focused on personal relationships. But one of the things that we always teach is to step into the other person's shoes for a moment and just try and understand their perspective. We're all human. We've all got our own a million thoughts going through our heads at any one time. We've all got our own value system or beliefs from when we grew up. And it's very unusual for two people not to have differences and to have misunderstandings in their communication, because we're all, you know, individuals built in different ways with different experiences. So it's about finding the way that works for you best in your marketing. And the marketing side, you know, you really want to be making sure that you are tapping into your customers' desires, their pain points. I'm personally I do both in my content creation, but people don't always want to start off with like really heavy, like have their pain points highlighted. You know, people want to think about the solutions and how things can be improved. So sort of really doing that sort of research of your target market to see what kind of language they use. One good tip I once got was go to Amazon and look at book reviews in your field, and just look at the kind of words and language that people are using, and that can help you sort of replicate the kind of language that your customers are looking to connect with you. And when it comes to your personal relationships, Peter, I know you don't have any problems on that front with the lovely Justine. But yes, communication can always be improved, and there's, you know, no harm in thinking, well, is there a different way I could have phrased that? Remember that you know, somebody might be having a bad day or be worried about something like stressful that happened, and you think you're being like totally calm and just asking a simple question, and you get your head bitten off in a snappy reply. So sometimes you have to also pick your moments and make sure if you're looking for a deep conversation with your partner, then choose your timing carefully, and make sure they're not distracted. And it's as simple as just saying, oh, could we make time to talk? And just check in with each other and ask how what's going on, how's your day been, like what's your anything worrying you, all these sort of just general check in on each other kind of points. But yeah, it can always be improved, particularly if somebody's not understanding what you're saying in a conversation. Then you have to always try and find a different way to explain it so that they do understand. I hope that makes sense. Felt I was rambling on a little bit there.
No, some interesting points and perspectives on that. And God knows it's all something that we need to work on, I think, continuously, probably throughout our lives, actually. So anything to help with that is greatly welcome, especially on my part. Stephen, hello. Please chime in for us.
Hi, James, Rhona, and Sondra. Rhona, thank you so much for opening that up, and some really valid points. And there were two that I really picked out amongst a lot of value that you gave, is the listening and eye contact. There's nothing worse than speaking to someone and they're not looking at you, especially in person, because then you know that they're not interested. They're interested in something else, or they're hiding something. I'm not a communications expert, but it surely, eye contact is key. And then listening. Listening is a fascinating topic in terms of communication, and something maybe we should give more attention to, as you emphasized tonight, as opposed to talking. And I think often, and I experience it, and I think not intentionally, people, often we have the answer, and then we tend to want to, with good intention, interrupt. And we should listen until somebody's finished what they had to say. And it doesn't happen often. And I've seen in business, it's that famous old saying, if you don't listen, you're going to surround yourself with people who don't speak. So it's about listening. And the one other thing I want to say about listening is silence. So we ask a question, and we don't necessarily always give the other person a chance, even if it's 5 seconds or so, to answer. We expect the answer. So it's an awkward silence, but it's not an unproductive silence. It's a silence we should allow to take place. And it's not easy, but, they're busy processing, and it's to respect that. So what I'm saying is not easy, but I think it needs to be done, and so we consciously need to do it. So I know from my own experience, I have to practice that. But it's often very productive, and you can go through how many times when you actually do actively, the word that you use, listen to, or intentionally listen to somebody. If someone's speaking to you and they've got a problem, they could just be offloading. They don't necessarily need an answer. They just need a sounding board. And how many times has someone said to you, thank you for listening? We need to take cognizance of that. So I think these are all things that we're chatting about. The questions that Peter asked, what you said, these are not things we don't know. It's just not necessarily things that we implement. And it maybe takes a little bit of conscious effort to do that, and to really listen and communicate clearly and communicate your point. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful topic, a wonderful subject, and something that we all need to practice. But for me, the art of communication is, from our side, I'm going to end off with, is listening. So, but thank you for your input.
I love that, Mr. Levy. I'm not ignoring our hands, but I'm going to go back and forth between questions on the live and the end. So, but this is a really good question for you, Rhona. How can businesses use chatbots such as Freshdeck or whatever to maintain good communication with customers? So, what role does that play in communication? I know there's good and bad to it. Okay, in my opinion, there's good and bad. Let me state that. But where does that play?
Personally, I'm not entirely sure because I've not experienced using a chat box for my own business, so I don't know how authentic they can be. I have my suspicions about people who may be using chat boxes, and there's some people who just don't have to, they're in Mexico, but they seem to be always online, and always like sending messages at weird times, which makes me think they might be a chat box. I think the key would be in the technology to make sure it is sounding like you and it's using natural language and it's not the sort of overly salesy, spammy that irritates people. So I think it does have a role, and I know obviously technology is really growing in that area at the moment. And I'm sure their chat boxes are definitely here to stay. But I would be making sure that you have a good element of control over the language that's used, the frequency of messages, and how the technology is used, so that you're not bombarding customers with too many messages, and it becomes a point where, I know for myself, if I get 5 emails from someone in the one day, then that's them like unsubscribe, but it's too much. So similar to that, you've just got to be conscious. But I'm sure it's a very useful tool. I know I think Peter was exploring some technology, and waiting to hear some feedback on how it can be used. So I'm absolutely not against them. I just think you need to have a good bit of input to make sure that you're having that clear, concise messaging that's relevant to the customer's query. One good point about them that I have heard is on the customer service side, because the chatbots are there 24/7. So if you have a sudden problem, there's an immediate answer. But I don't know how many of you experience a successful resolution from a chat box. Most of the times I've used a chat box facility to complain about something, I end up usually more frustrated and end up having to speak to a real live person anyway. So I think there's maybe still a little bit of work to be done, certainly in my experience. But yeah, that's a really very valid question and interesting.
Yeah, I love that, Rhona. Same. I've had it where I've gotten. Sometimes I'd like it to point me to an article or something, and if I can read it and get it to work, then yay. If not, then I'm like, okay, please give me a live person. Where's the 0? You know how you hit 0 for the operator on your phone like 50 times, just send me to a live person. For sure. I love Gareth put chatbots are really just entry point to answer the most common questions. It's not for you to use them all the time. And I know Gareth does tech and website builds, so chatbots would definitely be something that he would have experience with. And we've had him on before for technology things, and we will have him on again. Mr. L, come on in. I'm like, gonna keep bouncing back and forth. Go for it.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And thanks, Rhona, for the presentation. It's absolutely awesome. It's what marketing and sales have got to do, and I think it draws deeper down into all the departments in a company. The finance has got to be able to communicate with marketing or with whichever department there is in a company. I also wanted to touch a point Mr. Levy mentioned about when you speak to somebody that they're not looking in the eye, it means they're not listening. There's a little gray area there, Mr. Levy. In my culture, and that's where I come from, if somebody elderly or somebody older than me speaking to me, I don't look them in the eye. That shows disrespect. But then you can pick up from their body language whether they are listening attentively to you or their mind is wandering. And generally, an older person, when they speak to you, you've got to be attentive anyway, because when we grew up, if you're not listening, you would listen with your ear, like with the 5 fingers onto your ear, So that's just what I wanted to touch on, Mr. Levy. And taking this forward, I think it's the effective communication is very, very broad. We shouldn't limit it only to business. We should extend it. If I speak to my daughter or to my wife or to a friend, and I want to communicate something to them, it needs to be effective. I need them to be able to encode what I'm saying to them and be able to apply whatever I'm saying to them. If I say to my wife, I don't like my steak being well done, it's got to be understood what I mean. Okay. And so it is in business. If I want to communicate to my superior or anybody that reports to me, it needs to be exact. It needs to be concise. It doesn't help mentioning all these marketing or technical jargons to people that they will not understand. And sometimes you communicate just to show people that we can speak, that we know the language, that we know the terminology, which doesn't help. You need to speak to people at their level. Just make sure that people that you're speaking to understand exactly what you are saying. And I think you can actually even ask them a bit of a question here and there, whether they get what you are saying, whether they understand what you are saying, and maybe if need be, ask them to repeat the instruction if it's an instruction. So that, I think it's a broader version of of effective communication than just limiting it to business. And I know, Rhona, you caught up on it to say, even in your social circles, it's not just business, but even in your social circles, you need to be able to apply that. Thank you very much, and good evening to you.
I love that, Mr. Al. Yes, definitely culture plays a part. And even like Rhona said, upbringing plays a part. I'm on my second marriage, so 2 kids, and then we have 1 together. And there's been times where people are like, oh, those are your kids, those are his kids. Like they're just different. They were brought up different. Because we met when they were teenager or preteens. So yeah, my kids were huggers, his kids weren't huggers. Like, and just that alone was just like this big difference, like depending on where we went and who we see. And they're just like my stepkids became huggers because that's what my kids did. And I remember my father-in-law going, I really love that, because they just didn't do it. It was not I was raised, you hugged when you came, you hugged when you left. That was just the way you did it. It was respectful. That's why I raised my kids. So my stepkids caught on really quick, I think, out of fear of missing out, that they should be hugging people too. And I will tell them, hey, go hug your grandparents, tell them bye. Or your grandparents are leaving because grandma and grandpa like to leave earlier than everybody else or whatever. And I'd be like, everybody needs to stop. Go tell grandma and grandpa bye. And they appreciate it. My father-in-law has definitely told me many times that they appreciate that. So Megan, you go ahead and come in, and I have a couple questions from the live YouTube show.
Thanks very much, Sondra, and thanks, Rhona, and everyone else for the great conversation. So I've just been picking up bits and pieces from everyone, and I think for me, what stands out is I know Mr. Levy, Rhona, Lesetja, and Peter mentioned the curiosity, the empathy in communication. And I think that's so very important, because the curiosity being the person I am, if I'm interested in someone or what they're saying, you're not going to be able to drag me away from them, and the conversation will just continue. And I think that goes a long ways to just being able to cement the kinds of conversations you have. And then, of course, the empathy as well, just being able to make that person that you're speaking to understand and feel that you are actually on the same level as them in that moment and sharing something with them. And then that leads me to the next point, that it's so pertinent that when you were chatting about the chatbots earlier, to me, a big part of that conversation goes around no connection, no communication. You always feel like there's this huge disconnect if the system that you're speaking to is not intuitive enough. So it doesn't have that likeness to a human being that you are used to speaking to. So for me, that really stood out. And then I just wanted to throw in a little bit about the tech side of things. So writing for or speaking about tech, yes, you absolutely have to make it age and expertise level appropriate, no using of the heavy jargon and removing acronyms. We take for granted when we are in a certain industry that if we throwing around these acronyms and abbreviations, that everybody just knows what we're speaking about, and sometimes you just really have to stop yourself, take a step back and just go, right, let's speak to people like people, and the technical explanation will come through on that level. So I think those are very important points to remember. And thank you so much. Enjoying this conversation very much.
I love that. I love that, Megan, so much. Okay, Rhona, I'm going to put this question to you. There's so many good questions. I'm going to have to try to pick and choose. I like this one. Do emails and posters and post on, no, let me read the exact question so I don't miss it. It's from Hope. With nonverbal communication, does that include emails and posters?
Well, with
written communication, I guess is what she's saying.
I guess you still in emails you still want to show your personality. So obviously there's no body language to be read, but it can still have a tone, if you like, in the way that you write. And the best way that I was taught in marketing and for posts and emails is to write like you're having a conversation with somebody, so you can show your personality a bit. And even like somebody that I worked with, she always started an email with "Hey there," and I'm not a "Hey there" person. I'm more of a "Hi" or "Hello." So just like simple changes that reflect the language that you use. And yeah, although you don't have the sort of non-verbals in terms of fidgeting or eye contact, you still do have the sort of opportunity to show your personality through the language that you choose and that more conversational style, or not, if a more formal business style might be appropriate, depending on what industry. If you're an accountant, you probably wouldn't be like, "Hey there, friends, how's it going?" You would be a lot more formal in your choice of words. But yeah, really good question. Thanks, Hope.
Thank you. Mikey, good evening. Come on and talk about effective communication. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and one I somewhat have a gripe with at certain levels. But what I've come to learn, and I can share, when it comes to effective communication and in context to dealing with your customer, particularly when there's a problem. And, we spoke about different media or means. You have telephonic communication, which, many would prefer. Chat boxes seems to be quite taboo, but I've had experiences, and I can share that having face-to-face customer interaction as from the customer perspective that was dismal, and experiences where face-to-face has been proactive or successful. I've had chat box experience that was dismal, but at the same time, I've had chat box experience that resolved my issue quicker than any phone call, which also saved me money as such. So where I can come to the conclusion, the onus is on you, the business owner, and your respect for effective communication with your customers. Ultimately, it's the leadership. For me, it goes back to leadership, because again, you can have an organization that relies very heavy on automated chatbots, but if they do it very well, or where the algorithms are well thought of and the queries and the like, you can satisfy your customers without issue. And like I said, I've had face-to-face, gosh, I used to want to kill some people when you were there and present with them, and got nowhere. And same, of course, on the telephone, which comes with the incurrence of your airtime. So again, it's again your thought and your respect for the customer. So if you as a leader, you as the entrepreneur, business owner, you got to review and look at your respect for your customer, and think of it as a competitive advantage, because what can set the difference between your company having that subtle competitive edge over your competitor is how you treat your customer. And again, irrespective of the media you use or can afford to utilize in dealing with your customer interaction, I emphasize in putting the effort to ensure that that is well thought of, well cared for, and not an afterthought, because I got the sense many organizations feel customer interaction is an afterthought or an issue or a problem, but it shouldn't be that way. It should be considered as valuable insight for you as the business owner to help you even improve your business, or where you can gain an even greater competitive advantage over your competitors. So please, I plea with and unfortunately in South Africa, customer service as a whole is dismal compared to traveling. When I travel to another country, I get shocked. I actually honestly get shocked at how the customer is respected for in many, I'm not saying every other country, but my experience of travel, I can say, yeah, South Africa really needs to up its game. But that's my 2 cents worth. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Mikey, so much. I'm going to ask a question out of the chat. I wish there's a way you can mark these. This was a good one. When using the reaction buttons in chat things like WhatsApp app and stuff, is this a good or a bad thing, or can it be interpreted inappropriate or be misinterpreted? We all love reactions, don't get me wrong. So,
well, I suppose some people could misinterpret them, but I think they're really important. I think it's, we don't always have time to read everything, and if we don't always have the put the effort into making a reply, and hitting the like button is like an easy way to say that it has been noticed. I suppose it would depend on the circumstances, if you're chatting with a friend, or if it's in a business environment. In a business environment, I probably wouldn't be using emojis. I keep that more for personal relationships, unless it's a customer that you have a good strong relationship with in the first place. So I think it's probably maybe just a little bit personal to the individual, like whether they like it. I don't know. Again, as I said, it depends on the business type, how formal your customer relationships are, and certainly in our world, a lot of us here are in the coaching side of things. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram and you're you're engaging with people in the comments, then that's absolutely fine. And I think it's very normal and everybody accepts it as a standard practice. But if it's a one-on-one customer conversation, then it's really up to you to sort of judge whether you think it's appropriate or not.
I like that. I like that, Rhona. You have to take the temperature of the room. So yeah, like you said, if it's in a classroom setting, sometimes it's not appropriate. But as you build relationships in the classroom, then maybe later it will be, or in the coaching world. Yeah, I definitely, when I meet initial people, I do like to cut jokes and stuff to like make things a little more fun, but I have to watch how I do that. And I have a client that's in the financial world, and they talk different, walk different. It's just that's the type of world they're in. And there's Zoom etiquette. They're just like very, you present yourself very differently. I have a different background. I have to make sure I'm doing certain things, headphones, nobody interrupts me, and so on and so forth. So I've definitely learned the different worlds do mean different things. Peter, come on in, and then yeah, we have questions, rapid fire questions, but go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, I'll try and squeeze this all into one, including the code word in the background for the Ignite students, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I think one of the conclusions for me is the fact that whether you are learning effective communication for your business, or whether you're learning it for your relationship, or whichever space that you are stepping into to learn the art of effective and clear communication, it is going to benefit every other area of your life that you may need to communicate in, which is why Rhona is the one that is speaking on this, because that is exactly what she does. So then I want to step onto the next thing, which is a cabinet maker or a master craftsman does not leave his tools in his workshop to do the work. The tools don't do the work by themselves. They never have, they never will. There are no magic fairies they're going to fly out and pick up the tools in the middle of the night and make this magical cabinet. And the cabinet maker is going to wake up in the morning and go, aha, look, it's done. That just doesn't happen. So when we start talking about what tools we utilize in our businesses, whether it's chat boxes or whether it's our email space, or whether it's, if we haven't yet learned the art of communication, and we don't yet know how to communicate utilizing those tools, it's something that we have to learn. However, that's when the process comes in, where if there is something that you are not good at, you find somebody that is. So, and that's when we would be going to the people like Rhona, that are the master craftsmen and know how to use the tools. And you have the ability to go, well, I may not be effective at communicating this, but you're a professional. So, so getting people like that into your business that take the time to get to learn your business, get to learn your target audience, get to learn your customer base, get to learn your products and your processes and how everything works, and create an effective layout of your communication that is targeting your specific customer. Sometimes we just have to go to the master craftsman. Sometimes we don't do it by ourselves. And this is something I've learned, because we have gone to Rhona before and gone, oh my goodness me, this is what we're trying to say, and we don't yet quite know how to say it, and we need to put a proposal together. And Rhona, being the master craftsman, can step into that space and go, this is how it's going to be said. Because the proposal for the Ignite program to Mancosa was drafted and created by none other than Rhona MacCormick. So sometimes you have to go to the master craftsman. But it doesn't mean that you don't need to learn how to do it for yourself. I mean, it's all well and good to step back and let everybody do it, but you need to know the process. If you're going to be in charge of making sure that something happens, you need to know the process behind it. So, if I were you and you were looking to learn that art of communication, whether in a business capacity or in a private capacity or within your personal relationships, then do yourself a favor and reach out to Rhona, because she is the master craftsman. The other thing I want to throw out there, the code word for tonight, #Lighthouse. That is the code word, all in capital letters, lower letters, doesn't matter as long as it is hashtag Lighthouse. Send that message to the Somerville in a personal message. Please drop a message as to something that you have learned from this session. And then also please let her know that you have shared this across your social media. It takes nothing than pressing a few buttons. You don't have to share it in one place. If you want to be really bold, you can share it in multiple places. That would be absolutely brilliant. So hashtag Lighthouse, message Somerville, drop a message saying something that you've learned, and drop a message saying that you have shared on your social media. Guys, appreciate it. And that is me for now.
I love that. I love that, Peter. And yes, please give feedback. I do get to read the feedback, just FYI. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That helps me. That helps me grow. That helps me know what you guys are learning. So that's extremely important. So I do appreciate you giving the feedback so that we can grow for sure, for sure. Rhona, I'm going to ask you one more question before we start wrapping up. Because this one, I'm living it. So I really want to know the answer to this question. What is the correct course of action? Oh, this is from Devin. And okay, just FYI to the students, I struggle with African names. I'm from the USA, so I try to do my best. Anyways, the question is, what's the correct course of action when the customer is being unreasonable and all attempts of effective communication and customer service has failed? I'm living this, so I'd love to hear your feedback, Rhona.
Well, some of it kind of depends on the situation, depending on what they're going to do. But you need to, one of the things we talk about in our program, which is also very relevant in business, is your boundaries. You're going to have, it's your business. You're in charge of the decision making, whether you want to serve this client or not. So if they're not complying with how you want to do business, then you don't have to do business with them. If you're talking more of a sort of customer service solution, if it's been a complaint and the customer's just not recognizing the things that you're trying to put in place to solve the issue, then again, if there has been an error made, all you really do is apologize and say this is what I'm able to do to try and help, and I'm sorry if that's not acceptable. You need to pretty much stand your ground, I'm afraid, and yeah, just be strong to your own values, and know that you're not similar to a personal relationship. Nobody wants to have a like controlling partner that's like bossing them around. So you're not going to have a customer that's trying to dictate to you how you should be running your business. So you can do it in a very nice way, but you need to be assertive and just say, this is what I'm suggesting. This is all that's on the table. And if you're not interested, I'm sorry, I can't help you any further. I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah, it's kind of difficult to just give an answer without knowing more about the circumstances. But I hope that's covered both kinds of things, situations that you might have.
I love that. I love that, Rhona. I put in the chat on the YouTube show, you cannot please everyone. There's just no way, ever. So there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like something you do. So I have a client who wants to always fix it, and I'm just like, sometimes you can't fix it. You just can't fix it, or you're losing tons and tons of money trying to fix it, and it's not worth it. They're not going to come back and be a repeat customer. It's not going to get you anywhere, and you're out a lot of money is not also the answer too. So I think the biggest thing with that is having a process in place. So if this happens, this is what we do, and that's where we do it. Having this particular person has merchandise, so delivery expectations are on it, and we had to adjust them with weather. And unfortunately, the United States had crazy weather in the spring or over the winter and spring, where there was states that were shut down and you couldn't transport and things like that. So we had to adjust the shipping dates and extend them just to make sure that we still fell into what was written, but yet ideally realistic to what was going on in the United States. So same thing with overseas when COVID happened. I know a lot of people had to change their shipping dates because they just couldn't get their stuff. So I think written communication and having honest communication is very much true too. Real quick, Mr. Levy, go ahead, and then we got to wrap up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, I think, Rhona's point about, just understand what your values are, and that's where they're so powerful. Is not just understanding the name of them, but what they mean to you. And this will guide your communication in your business and how you communicate with your customers. I think something I learned in my business, which my people always knew, is, that if you've got a problem, don't sweep it under the carpet because it doesn't go away. Address it, own the problem, and just address it with a customer, which comes down to communication, and address it. I think the key word around this whole conversation tonight is effective. Address it effectively, because the customer is king. But if they don't align with your values, then don't do business with them. It's not as simple as that, but in essence, that's what it's about. But do it respectfully. I think that's the big thing. Never be disrespectful, even if you're firing someone, a customer.
I agree, Mr. Levy. You don't have to be disrespectful. Even when people are not treating you with the same respect that you would like, that does not mean you have to lower yourself to that level. I've always found, I had an intense week last week, and I was just like, okay, I just have to walk away. I can't. I'm going to say something I shouldn't, and so let me walk away from the conversation and come back when I can address it in a respectful manner. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I think sometimes, Sondra, I know you've got to wrap it up now, but I think sometimes your silence is actually more powerful than an answer in that respect.
Right.
When you're dealing with a tough situation.
For sure, Mr. Levy. Thank you. Ms. Rhona, we want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know you had to rearrange your time to come on the show, so we're greatly appreciative of that. Do you have any final words?
Just thank you for having me. It's been a really interactive chat, and it's lovely to hear everyone's perspective as well. And it's the beauty of the tribe that we all continue to learn from each other and support each other. So it's been a pleasure to be here.
I love that. Mr. Brown had to step away because he is on father duty. So he had to go take care of his boys. So make sure you check him out on LinkedIn under James Brown voiceover. All our LinkedIn links will be in the chat. We want to thank Miss Susan, who does our show description. She does our show covers, and she also turns our show into a podcast on Spotify. So go make sure you like us over on Spotify. Follow us over there. You watch a couple of the show or listen to a couple of the shows, and then you can give us a rating. Like Peter said, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because that helps us help more people all over the world. My name is Sondra. I am the owner of Get It Done Coaching, and I help you get your goals accomplished by creating bite-sized action pieces. And I'm going to let Mr. Peter do the sign-off.
Okay, so let's do ourselves a favor, and if you are watching live on YouTube, do yourself a favor and double check the links that we are going to put into the description. I'm pretty sure there'll be some extras in there. Keep your eyes peeled on that space. Ladies and gentlemen, in the famous words of Nastine, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come